Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm just going to jump right in and talk about what I did today. So, not a great deal, but a fair bit. So, we have a little generator now in the garage. This model I actually used the AI to generate. And the texture was really bad, but because I reduced the size of the texture so much, a lot of the problems on that texture aren't really obvious. The only thing is, yeah, we have like a clock and then another clock, so that's fine, you know. It's a generator. And this is the part that we need to find for the generator. So I'm actually thinking maybe there's going to be two parts that you need to find rather than just one. But this was originally in another room, but for testing purposes, I just put it right next to the generator. But we're going to come back here because I have to show you what else we've looked at. So the two things I needed to do was get the other two types of door to work. So this door works because we picked up that key, and so that's all good. You saw that yesterday. But now this door, I can press E, and if I created a sound effect or a piece of text, I would be telling you the door is jammed. It's not locked. There's no key to open this door. It's just jammed, which is lovely. And so we'll come into here, and we'll come into here, and we'll come into here. And now that's a key for another thing. Well, that's the closet there, so I'll just ignore those. This is the jammed door. And we have a little invisible box in front of the door. And if we're standing in that box, that means that we're able to unjam the door. So now we can open the door. And now that the door's been unjammed, the door opens and closes. So having doors that unlock from the correct side, we've got that done. So of the three types of doors, two of them are completely working now, basically. And it works the same with this one, like, let me come around here, I'll show you. Because this one I don't think I've sorted this one out yet. Yeah, I think this one still just opens by itself. But this one again, same deal. It is jammed and we cannot open it from the back. Which is nice, that's what we want. And we'll go back inside and we'll open the door again. And then I'll show you the rest of the stuff. Because the third type of door is the door that happens after items have been interacted with. And I haven't actually done the final step of getting the doors to open by themselves when the items are interacted with. I just got the items to be interacted with. So I can press E on the lamp and nothing happens. And if I had some text, you know, I could be saying, oh, the power's out. But I'm actually thinking that we can switch the lamp. I need to adjust the code, but I want to have it so that we can switch the lamp on and off, but nothing will happen until we turn the generator on. And then all the lamps that we've already switched on will just turn on by themselves. Just because I imagine you'd be able to switch it on and then flick the generator on and then it will just come to life. But right now you can't switch it on until you've turned the generator on. So this is another item that would belong somewhere else in the house, but I've just placed it next to the fireplace because these are the matches that we would use to start the fire. And it's a very big, bright fire. I don't know if I'm going to tweak it at all, but it's the first bit of light in the house, besides our torch, which is kind of important because it provides a safe zone. So now that you saw that we can't turn the lamps on, let's see what happens when we turn on the generator. That's something else I don't really like, is that the camera can kind of clip a bit if you're in the direction of the door that's being opened. It doesn't look very nice. But I'm not entirely sure how to fix that. I may fix that, I may not fix that. And also, let me show you quickly. So this just works by itself, but I'm gonna just add a little check to it to be like, just check if the power is on, because we have it working with the lamps, where the lamps won't turn on until the power's on. But these shouldn't work until the power's on, but I'm pretty sure that they, oh, maybe I did fix it. That's good. Did more than I thought that I did. So we press E, nothing's happening. So we might have a message saying, it looks like there's a part missing or something like that. Also, I'm actually thinking I might make the model myself, use this AI model as the base, and kind of try to recreate it myself so that it's a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit less detailed, because I won't have the same texture for it. But why would I do that? Just for fun, I think. And also because I can make one section of it that I can remove, and I can use that as this. So we find the part, and when we press E, it'll actually add it to that, so that it looks like we put the part in just a little bit nicer. But let's pick it up, and let's turn it on. Also, there's a little, this is supposed to be over here, so that's like the wire. I know it looks more like a pipe, but it's supposed to be like a kind of a, like when I remake the model, I might make like a spiraling little cable that runs off to the wall. And I'm going to add a little light that's hanging from the ceiling here, so that when we turn it on, we have the light on, and we have the generator vibrating. So it doesn't look great, but it looks good enough. You know, there'll be a sound effect, maybe some smoke, I don't know, but just an indication, a feeling that the thing is now alive. And you can see now the lighting needs to be rebuilt because we're switching the lights on when they were all off. And so it's a bit worried about that. I was a little bit worried actually because with all the lamps in the room, I actually had a bunch of lights on them to like light it more evenly. And then once I had a whole bunch of lights on, the performance just went down quite a lot. So I have to think about optimizing it. But you can see it took a little moment there to adjust the material because the material updates to be the lit version of the lamp. And right now there's no way to turn it off. Not that we really need to ever turn it off, but I think it'll be nice for the kind of immersion. I kind of want to actually make it so that pretty much every object we can have a little interaction with, whether it's just the player commenting on it or something. I'm thinking about those point and click games where you can sort of click everywhere and your character would remark, you know, to do with the context, like, I want to sit on the sofa, and the character will say, I don't really feel like relaxing right now, or something like that. I don't know. Obviously, there's a limit to it, but the more interaction we can add, the better. But my plan with these is that there's going to be a integer on the player, like a number, which is 0. And whenever we turn a lamp on, add 1 to that number. And when we turn the lamp off, -1 from that number. So we keep turning lights on, and the number keeps going up, and we count how many lights do we have in the world that we want the player to go turn on. And once the counter has reached the number that we define, which is equal to how many lamps there are. See, this is just an old lamp. It doesn't actually, it's just the ones in that room that I set up. But like, let's say that there's 10 lamps that we have to turn on. So we go and we start at 0 and we turn on the first one, second one, third one. Turn on the 10th lamp. Our number is now at 10. And so I just need to make a little code so that the door to the master bedroom just opens by itself. This door right here will just open by itself magically when the counter reaches 10. And maybe some information on the screen, some sound effect or some comment by the player to kind of tell us that something has happened in another part of the house that we need to go and find because we've made some progress. And also, yeah, the player's got to like kind of, I say the player, the character that we're playing needs to communicate to the player the importance of light so that the player kind of understands that what they're doing in this house is trying to get the lights back on. So we just had another little crash, but that's okay. It's just reminding me to crack on and get the video over and done with. So yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it. I'm just going to show off the cool. Haha, looks lovely. I'm happy with the speed as well. Doesn't need to move too quickly. And it freezes there. And we can close it as well. And that works for all of them, which is great. I'm very happy with how that's all looking. Even though like an actual one would kind of wrap up to the side, they don't usually just go straight up like that, but that's okay. It's just a game. Uh-huh. So what else did I want to talk about? I just wanted to show you some of the blueprint stuff. Talk about that. Because I kind of showed you a little bit yesterday, but I didn't really show you most of it. So yesterday we went over this, which is the WASD and the mouse look and clamping the pitch. But the thing that I forgot to go into was this. So input, action, interact. So this is when we press E. When we press E, we do a line trace by channel. And so this basically means fire a line straight down from the position of the camera. And so the starting position is the world position of our, so we get the camera manager of the player, and we get its root component, and then we get its world location. And that is where the line begins, and the line ends by getting the transform of the camera manager. I think these two could probably be the same, to be honest. I don't know if it has to be like that. And then we get the world rotation. So get world location, world rotation, and then get the forward vector, multiply that by our range. So how far do we want the line to go? Because if we don't have the range, then it's just going to end at whatever position the camera is rotated to. And so we'll never see a line because it'll just be that single dot. We haven't given it a length. And so we multiply it by the range, the forward vector. So the forward vector is the line going forward from the camera. So that multiplied by the range gives us what we want. And I just had it going from here to here, and I was like, why is this not working? This should be enough. But then I remember I did follow a tutorial about this stuff, and I had this set up in the other game, and I got it all working just fine. And it was just adding this to the world location. So get world location and add that to this multiplied forward vector, and then add it to the end. So ignoring all of that stuff, if you just look at this, this will give you the effect of pressing E will just fire a line straight out from the camera, which I think is very useful. I'm using it for opening, but you'll see what I'm using it for. Let's do that now. So out hit, this basically means that line that's come out, has it hit an object? Because objects have collisions on them, they can be blocked by things. So if we hit something, what have we hit? So we break the hit result down, because there's various things about the hit. And one of the things is the actor. Did we hit an actor? Because if we did hit an actor, then let us cast to the BP door. So if we have hit a door, tell the door to run its custom event, which is open and close. And again, for the double door, same thing. And, going cast failed, I can't really think of a different way of doing this, but this is working. It's not ideal, but it's working. So I'm going to leave it as it is, because it's a small game, don't need a lot of interactions happening, just a couple. And so we have those boxes which we pick up, which are the keys, and so we cast to them, and we tell them to play their pickup item event, and cast to use item box. So this is when we have the matches and we're using them on the fireplace. Use item is actually light the fire, if that makes sense. And then cast to the garage door button. So when we hit the garage door button, play this, push the button. And when we interact with the generator, turn on the generator. And when we interact with the lamp, turn on the lamp. And so any more interactions I add, I'll just keep going. Not pretty, but it is working. So I think that's okay. And I haven't actually exported the project once to see how the performance is in that regard at all. I've got no idea. So I'll have to do a little bit of testing, but we do still have a bit of time left, so I think we'll be okay. So that's basically the whole player controller. We'll just have the player moving around, and we have the player interacting with objects in the world. And this basically is just send messages to these objects, because these objects themselves have different events on them. So I'll try and give you an example of one. Um, well, let's just look at the door because it's pretty simple. Well, the door, it looks like this with all the branches because we have different keys locking the doors. So basically the custom event fires, and if it needs the key 1, we're going to go this way. If it doesn't, we're going to ask ourselves, does it need key 2? Because then we'll go this way, and if it doesn't, again, same thing, key 4, and then finally, okay, so it doesn't need any of the keys. Is it jammed? Because if it's jammed, we're going to go down here, but if it's not, we'll come up here. And here now we finally ask ourselves, is the door in its open position or its closed position? Because if the door is not closed, now it is closed. If the door is closed, now it's not closed. And when it's not closed, we play the animation backwards. If it is closed, we just play the animation. And this is something I hope you don't mind me going on about it. I'm getting it. I'm really enjoying the process. So with a float track, you always have something that's between 0 and 1. So at the time of 0, we're at a value of 0. And at the time of 1 second, because that's the total length of the animation, we reach a value of 1. Now what does that mean? Well, we're doing this. So we're lerping, and we're lerping from the closed position to the open position. Or in the case where we reverse it, we are lerping from the open position to the closed position. Because the lerp is basically, this needs to be a number between 0 and 1, and that's what we're getting over here. And lerp just means kind of gradually go 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 until we reach 1, or play it backwards. And so basically when it's at 1, it'll be at B, when it's at 0, it'll be at A. And this is what's controlling the direction. Are we going 0 to 1, or are we going 1 to 0? And then we set the actor's rotation on the update. So not when the animation finishes, because otherwise it would just, I think, but we want to set the actor's rotation while it's changing. So that's why we have set the actor's rotation, and what rotation? It is the return value of this lerp rotator. So that's basically it. And on begin play, we get a reference to the player. Because when we get a reference to the player, we can ask ourselves, does this door need key 1? If it does, well, let's get the player. Let's get the player's key 1. So if the player has key 1, if that's true, we can go back to where we were and just open and close the door. But if the player doesn't have key 1, this is where I would put my play the locked door sound effect. And similarly, down here. The player has a thing called unjam, which is when they're standing in that invisible box. And if that's true, if the player is standing inside that box, we can set the door to not be jammed. And now that the door is not jammed, we can proceed through. And now every other time we open it, we'll just skip this because it won't be jammed, because we just set it to be not jammed the first time we open the jammed door. But to open the jammed door, the player has to be standing in the box, which sets the player unjammed to be true. And then we proceed like normal. So, not too complicated, I don't think, pretty straightforward. Anything else? The garage door is basically the same. It's just, instead of lerping the rotation, we're just lerping the position, and it's just the Z position that we're lerping from. So it's basically exactly the same. The double door is exactly the same, but there's 2 of them. We'll look at the generator shake and the generator. So the generator shake is the actual generator, which is shaking or not. And then just outside of that, there's a box that the player is interacting with. And that box is the thing that checks, does the player have the part. So it says key 4, but key 4 is actually the piece that we need for our generator to run. And if we do have the piece, then we're going to set power on the player. So the player has a thing called power on. And we're going to set generator is on the generator shaker. So the generator shaker has a ball called generator is on, and we set that to true. And then inside generator shaker, we just ask ourselves, every moment that's ticking by, is the generator on? Because if it is, we're going to play this. If it's not, we're going to do nothing. And if it is, we play this, and when we play this, we're setting the relative location of our old rusty petrol dome. That's the name of the AI gave it for the mesh. And we're setting the visibility of our light. So we have the light here, and we just turn the light on, basically. And this one was a little bit tricky for me to figure out, because it's not a float track, but it's actually an X, Y, and Z one. And so the Z, I don't want it to be going up and down, I just want it to be going around and around. And so that's what's happening here. So that's basically that. I think you get the idea. I don't have to go through everything, because these videos, they get too long. I want to start cutting them down, making them more tight. But, you know, it's a genre. I gotta have a little bit of confidence in what I'm doing. I do enjoy talking and showing you the process. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you all have a lovely time, and I will be seeing you all in the next video. Bye bye!